Good morning, everyone. My name is Simona Kalvoda, and on behalf of the Czech Green Building Council, I'm pleased to welcome you to this morning webinar. The aim of this session is to provide you with information on progress of EPBD for adoption to the Czech legislation and to discuss how it impacts on the new and existing buildings. Today we have excellent and most relevant speakers for it. We have Natalie Marková of Ministry for Trade and Industry, who is directly responsible and involved in the directive adoption. We have Marta Gelová of Chance for Buildings, who represents the views and interests of the building sector, and Jirka Cihlář of CEVRE, who are the consultants specializing in energy savings in buildings. Each presentation will be followed by a Q&A session. So participate actively so that you get the most of today's webinar. Can everybody please switch their mics off so that we don't have any interruptions? The webinar is being recorded, so those who don't agree with this, please leave the room. You will receive the link to the video afterwards for later reference. And I wish you a very inspiring and good meeting. And now I hand over to Stefan Dechuy from RISC to say a few words.
Thank you, Simona. Thank you for the kind words. Good morning from myself in Vienna at the moment. I want to thank the panelists Natalie, Marta, and Jiří for doing this. RICS is happy to be involved in this. For us, it's very important, as you know, and quite a few members are on this call today, is that ESG sustainability are one of the pillars that we are, let's say, evolving on and trying to, to give thought leadership to that. In the current EU environment, it's not that easy, given all the changes that are taking place. Regulation is the one that gives us the tools to actually move forward. So this is very important, and I'm very much looking forward. The second event for us this year after the market real estate outlook we did a couple of weeks ago at the EY offices, which was received good. So I'm happy about that. Very happy to cooperate here with the Czech Green Building Council. So special thanks for Simona for giving us the opportunity. And on behalf of myself, David, Hanna, Lucy, and Pavel, the rest of the Czech board of RICS, enjoy and very much looking forward. Thank you. And I hand over to Marta. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Stefan, for handing over me the floor, so to speak. And I will introduce the association that I represent, which is the Alliance Chance for Buildings, and some of our activities. And then I'll pass the word to those that have the most information for you, and that's you're looking forward to their presentation. So I'll try and share my screen if that's going to work. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. And can you see my presentation okay? Can someone say if it's okay? Yep, thank you. Right, today's session is about the latest developments in the EPBD 4. First of all, Alliance Chance for Buildings. We were founded in 2010 as an alliance of major industry associations supporting the energy efficiency construction. At the moment, we cover over 250 companies through construction sector, designers, architects, through to suppliers and manufacturers of different materials, technologies, even consulting companies and financial institutions. The three associations that we represent at the moment is the Czech Green Building Council, the Association of Mineral Insulation Manufacturers, and the Association of Prefabricated House Suppliers. Currently, we're discussing with three more associations to join because they are really interested in the work that we have been doing over the past years. Our main goal is to advocate the legislative changes that are coming mainly from the European Commission, but at the same time, we would like to focus on the current practices that are actually in place already. So we don't have to introduce only new regulation, but maybe enhance the regulation that already exists and take into consideration the current good examples. We connect governments, business and non-governmental sector in our work. We have identified our focus in 4 different areas. First of all, it's the implementation of EED and EPBD4, which is very important for us and influences the work of all our members and their companies. Then it's the green savings program with the renovation rate, which we are trying to do as much as we can to speed it up, the renovation rate. That basically links with the EPBD4, and that is a financing program that helps mainly the private owners of family houses and building houses of flat houses to finance their renovations. Then it's the public procurements, which includes the circular economy and raw materials policy. Again, that's linked with the EPBD, but it's done in different working groups, so we are involved in that. Taxonomy, that's another very big area of interest, which we're involved in, which is linked, as you all very well know, with financing, especially from banks. Obviously, we do a lot of awareness, PR. As I mentioned, we try to expand the alliance, so we represent much larger portion of the market. And in this current year, in the Czech Republic, there are going to be parliamentary elections, so we focus on discussion with politicians a lot more than we used to do. Our main activities and how we work is first of all consulting with our members, so we know and we can represent their know-how and the way that they want to influence the coming regulation, mainly from Europe. We participate at the expert group of several ministries. One very important focus group is run by Natalie, who's going to speak about it, I expect, later on in her presentation. Through our members, we have a lot of access to market case studies, which we try and represent further to the representatives of the state. We do communication and media analysis. We're part of international European groups and international projects that focus on EPBD transposition, but also other areas that are linked with different parts of the EPBD. and as I mentioned, we also participate in political meetings. Respectively, we try and organise in the Parliament, as we did, for example, last week, and plan this year again, professional or experts discussions, and we involve the politicians so they can then discuss through their coming campaign the topics that we try and open up a little bit more with them. Where the APBD is concerned, we have done a position paper at the Alliance. It came as a working group from the Czech Green Building Council, who did the most work on this position paper, because their range of expertise is very wide. And we have created this position paper across the Alliance, so we can represent the ways that we would like the different areas of EPBD to be transposed in the Czech law. There is a connection between the implementation of EED and EPBD, because they come into the same legislative pieces, into the same codes, and therefore it is obvious that the implementation has to be combined. Therefore, it's a lot more work and probably a little bit more pressure in terms of time, because as you might know, the EED has been in force since October 23, where the EPBD 4 since May 24. So the combination of the transposition time then sort of cuts a little bit the time of the EPBD, but I'm sure with a very professional team at the Ministry of Trade and Industry, we can manage as a Czech Republic. What our focus is within the EPBD, the main is the ZEB, the standard for new buildings. The standard for building and renovations is the ZEBRA. Then proposal for the building renovation plan, because if we want to plan the renovations, we need to know the state of the building stock. Therefore, there's an analysis being prepared that would be as a base for the renovation plan. Which then is going to give to the markets a clear direction of what type of building is going to be renovated and when. Therefore, they can a lot more calculate their investments and their staff for planning the renovation as through the plan. Then linked with it is the database of energy performance. Again, that is something that is in our focus, and on all those areas there are working groups under the ministry. Therefore, we are really directly involved in the transposition. As I said, we have created this document mainly to discuss together what is the view of the membership for the transposition of EPBD4, and we communicated that across with the respective ministries to show them that we're there prepared to share the know-how that we have. I'm sure Natalie is going to speak about it in more details, but we're expecting some little bit more concrete outcomes of the working groups towards the autumn of this year, so we can be ready by the end of the year. But that's from my point of view. So I'm basically here to combine the know-how of the companies and associations that we represent towards the relevant ministries and politicians. So that's all from me at the beginning, and I'll pass to Simona to introduce a following speaker. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I'm prepared to give you the answer.
Thank you very much, Marta. Thank you for this introduction. Are there any questions at this moment from the audience? Please mark yourself with the little hand, if any. Not for the moment. So I would like to hand over to Natalie Marková from the Ministry for Trade and Industry. Natalie, good morning.
Okay,
the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the floor. I will share my presentation, and I hope it works.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the floor. Today I'm going to speak roughly about 15 minutes. Hopefully I'm not going to go too long. I want to apologize in advance because since the rather good weather we've been having lately, my allergies are acting up. So if I go suddenly mute, it's probably me trying to sneeze discreetly, but I think we'll manage. So hello, thank you very much. As I have said, my name is Natalie. I'm the Director of Energy Efficiency and Savings Department, and I am representing the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Firstly, thank you, Marta, for the trust that you are having in me and my team. We are really trying to do the best of what we have. Today, I thought that I will try something a bit different. And of course, I will be glad to answer all your questions about how we are doing in terms of implementation. But I think it is of course tied to the implementation itself. I thought that I will talk a bit about the EPBD and the change of philosophy we are currently experiencing when it comes to buildings. So let's do that. We have, or rather, there is a brief outline. I will do the boring thing, and that's the introduction and setting basically the scene of where the EPBD is currently placed in. I think that is very much important in terms of how we are thinking about the implementation, the legislative framework, but where we are at the philosophy, which is the second bullet point I'm going to talk about, and it is really the approach of the legal requirements within the EPBD. We are moving, or we will be moving to getting closer to the public, as I have called it. It is very important because we are trying to bridge the gap, perhaps, between being too technical and getting the important information towards the public. Then we will be moving to data as one of the most important things the EPBD is starting to deal with, and of course with digitalization and electronification. It is important topic. And then there's going to be brief closing remarks. So as I have mentioned, and this slide, I think everybody knows this slide. It's my favorite slide. I have it in all my presentations. It is where we are at with the EPBD and how it fits into the EU's basically legal outview. It is part of a legislative package. I think everybody knows that package is called Green Deal, and it is one of the tools of achieving the EU's climate target of reducing emissions at least by 55% by 2030, with a long out view of getting to that 2050 neutrality we are talking about quite a bit. It is important to understand that EPBD is not acting alone, of course. Few of other legislative papers or documents were mentioned. That's the Energy Efficiency Directive, but we, of course, have Renewable Directive, we have Gas Package. It is all of those tools we are going, which are going to move us or to push us to 2050 neutrality. However, why the buildings are one of the most important, that's basically because buildings are a rather large emitter of CO2 emissions, especially the residential buildings. I think it's roughly about 40% of the emissions, but it is very crucial and important. The directive, and Marta has mentioned it, the directive entered into force on the 28th of May 2024. We have 2 years for implementation. That means that I have 2 years with my team to write all the laws and set basically everything up. It does not mean that all of the legal requirements are starting from the 2026. That is not true. For example, the new zero emission building standard starts in 2028 for public buildings, 2030 for all remaining buildings. So that's also important to have in mind. But let's move to the philosophy. I was deeply thinking of how to approach this, but I'm not Plato nor Kierkegaard, but I thought that I will try my best. First of all, I wanted to talk about unification because it's important to get something straight. And when talking about unification, I think I spoiled it already with the second bullet point, but where it's written not really. About the unification, we are, of course, a variety of countries in the EU. We are a variety of cultures. We have different climate zones. Therefore, we have very much different approach to building stock. And the EU, of course, what it does is in certain aspects, it's pushing towards the legal framework unification. And it, of course, works very well, for example, in eco-design, where you have technical criteria which are set up and they are the same within the whole EU. However, for the buildings, we are not really talking about unification of all the technical aspects. Rather, we are talking about unification of branding. And as you can see on the right side of the slide, you have the new scale, which is going to be unified within the all EU, because currently there are D minuses and E pluses. However, this is going to be the scale to go for. However, as I have mentioned, we are unifying the branding, not really the methodology behind it. It is very important to understand it where you can compare perhaps the energy performance certificates and classes within one country. Comparison between different countries is very difficult. Sometimes not really doable, because the changes can be substantial, because the national governments are choosing what aspects to promote within the methodology and within the calculations. So when your building is going to be, I don't know, C in Czech Republic, it can be B in Germany, the same building, and it can be A in Malta. So the unification is really just of the brand, not really in the merit of the buildings. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It is how it is. From my point of view, it is good that we are not unifying really all the criteria, because I think it would be rather impossible. And it's going to be certain, if we are going to move towards that, it's going to be certainly a very long process. But what we are doing is really unifying the brand, and as long as we are aware of it, for example, in the taxonomy criteria, it doesn't really affect our lives that much. When I go to the second part, basically the zero emission policy, as I have put it here. From the building to the materials and beyond, we are really changing the way we evaluate our buildings. I have mentioned and how we are thinking about the buildings. I have mentioned the energy performance certificates, and that's really evolving around this main tool we are having. Because currently, and even before, and I think mainly before the energy crisis, not many people are thinking about, I don't know, the heating source of the building they want to purchase or to rent. They were not really thinking about the standard and the efficiency of the building, how much they are going to really pay for their energy bills. And if they were thinking about it, it wasn't the main determinant of their choosing. It was much more important how large the building is, etc. And of course, all of these are very important aspects of when you are thinking about purchasing or renting a house. However, with the new EPBD, we are changing a bit of the focus here, because we are not only focusing on what the building can do, meaning the energy performance certificate really focused on, okay, let's evaluate this building, what it can do and how it stands. But with the new EPBD, we are looking even what it has done, in parentheses, meaning what the materials that the building is built of has cost for the environment. And then we will also move to the future of what it can do, meaning really focusing on the renewable side of things. So that's sharing of the energy with the grid, etc. I will not go too much into details of the zero emission building standard, because my colleague is going to do that, even with a practical example. The new standard does not have to be necessarily stricter, but what it really changes, is the first thing we can see. It has a new feature which current standard does not have. Current, and I mean nearly zero energy standard. The zero emission building standard has one feature, and that is it really controls or rather limits the heating source you can use. And basically that's meaning that you cannot have on-site fossil fuel emissions. So you cannot have gas, you cannot have coal, and I'm talking about new buildings. Another aspect with the change of philosophy, and that we are going to the past as well, is the global warming potential, or past rather, focusing on the materials. Because the main CO2 emissions are from the operating of the buildings. The building stands, we are using it, that's the main source of emissions. However, we are also looking with a change of philosophy of the material and how the building is built. We are currently working on it in the Czech Republic on how to approach it, so it's not a really bureaucratic hindrance. I do not like bureaucracy. I'm not very good at it either. I'm trying to always go for the easiest solution using what we already have. The global warming potential is going to evaluate the materials that were used when building the building. It's going to be one number in the energy performance certificate. It is going to be in kilograms of CO2 per square meter. So it's going to be really just the one number, but it's going to give you a new viewpoint of how the building really was well thought through, rather from the emission point of view. So that's a bit about the philosophy, and I hope I introduced it so it is understandable for you, the change of the viewpoint of not only what the building is, but what it causes before, and even the stress on the renewable part. I will support it with the getting closer to the public bit where we have the energy performance certificate. And as I have mentioned previously in the philosophy part, rather, energy performance certificate is largely technical. It is nevertheless, it has several pages. It has a lot of indicators. Sometimes it is very difficult to read for the public. It's going to get even more complicated. As I've mentioned, the global warming potential new number is going to be there. We are going to have, at least in Czech Republic, we are thinking of having two scales, one for the building, what it can do, and one for the renewables. So what basically it can do, being, I don't know, part of energy community and etc. We are moved to this also because the validity of the energy performance certificate should be at least 10 years, or it is supposed to be at least 10 years. And of course, when you are somehow influencing the scale and how the building is perceived by being a member of a renewable community or energy community, it can be a very short-term process. That's why we have to have really two scales of the building, where if you are going to change the heat source or if you are going to insulate, those are things which are not happening quickly, but you can jump in and off the sharing of the renewable quite a bit. So that's why it is getting more complicated, but also it is for us to explain to the users of what the energy performance certificate is used for. And I know that we have a real estate people here, and sometimes we are getting calls of, okay, but I'm not heating my house at all during the winter, and my energy performance class is very, very low, and I think it should be higher. But then they do not understand that everything is standardized, so we can actually compare buildings in between each other. However, how to bridge the gap between the owner and the energy performance certificate? It is really a conundrum, but the renovation passport, and it's a new tool which we are going to talk about, is the thing to do that. We are currently in Czech Republic discussing of how it should look. We have sort of a project under the Ministry of Environment who are trying to make the renovation passport into a tool which is used for funds. We will see how that is going to go, but basically the renovation passport, what it should be used for, it should be certainly less technical. It should be easy to understand, maybe 2 pages, where energy performance certificate is, I don't know, 10 pages. It gives you step-by-step renovation where you can have all the costs of each step, how much it's going to cost you, how much energy you're going to save, where you should call, who is going to give you advice. So it should be really practical piece of paper you as an owner can easily use. It should be easy to read, it should be short, it should be easy to understand. And it should complement the energy performance certificate because, and of course, it is up to the discretion of each member state, but in Czech Republic, the renovation passport is not going to be obligatory legally, where energy performance certificate is a legal obligation, the renovation passport is not going to be. So it is going to be a voluntary tool. And that is why it's important to really get that together. I will move to digitalization. This is also very important, and we are, as Marta mentioned, we are working on our new database. It is quite a bit of work, especially legally. It is very difficult, and we are still, because it is a big project, either go big or go home. We have approached from this way, and we are building a really robust system, not only for the usage of the EPBD, but for the usage of the EED, which is also in my department. The EPBD stresses the data access for all, not only for the owners of the building, where in Czech Republic, where you are going to have, or this is how we were thinking about it, You will just go online in one place and you will get the energy performance certificate, but also if you have, I don't know, energy audit, you could see that there as well. It is also, and why there is access for all, it should be also accessed by managers who can decide where to invest within their properties or the properties they are managing. That's why we have managers there. And of course, banks or financial institutions, that's mainly because of the taxonomy, even though the EPCs, as I've mentioned, are very not comparable within the EU as a whole. The taxonomy is requiring financial institutions to have the data. And of course, because we are always trying to bridge the gap, as I have mentioned before, the general public should get some easy outview of how the building stock in the Czech Republic looks like and how well or not very well the buildings are managed. I have mentioned the new database. It is connected to the digital building logbook. That basically means you should have one entry point. And as I have mentioned, because we are dealing with the EED as well, we are trying to really make a hub for all of the energy efficiency, energy performance of buildings information, where we can make it a very nice package and then communicate it to the public. And of course, use it when we are building or basically making some kind of legislation. Of course, that's the last bullet point of usage of data. Okay, I think, or I know, I'm moving to the closing remarks. And as I have mentioned before, do not hesitate to ask me about how the implementation is going. Marta mentioned that we have several expert groups, and it is indeed true that because of the parliamentary elections, we are expecting to introduce what we call EPBD package at the beginning of next year. So we are waiting for the new government, and we should still be, when the stars are aligned, we should still be in time for the 28th of May, or at least by then we hope to be really deep within the legislative process of getting the EPBD implemented and getting it done. We are preparing everything right now, and because the zero emission building standard is such a cornerstone of what we are building up everything else, we are hoping to have that finished indeed in autumn with all the necessarily evaluating and all the necessary audits in parentheses of how it really fits into the practical way of things. So as for the closing remarks, the EPBD gives us a tool to involve the public more. However, we must really use them as they were intended. That's mainly talking about the EPC and the distinction between the renovation passport. The timeline is split into several crucial dates that I have mentioned in the beginning. Not everything is starting from the 2026. We have a lot of things which are starting later on. Basically, and that's the third bullet point, we should involve the energy aspect into buildings more. It's especially true when we are talking about buying a house or building a house. It is really one of the most important things to consider when we are purchasing, because we have seen when suddenly the energy prices go up, what it can do to people who are unaware of how not efficient their building is. And the last bullet point is emissions matter. My whole presentation was about really changing the energy out view to emissions out view. It is a new thing. It is really the change of philosophy the EPBD is starting to push for, and it is up to us and the ministry and in different ministries throughout the EU to make the best sense of it and to make clear the way of how the buildings should be perceived in our countries. So that's all for me. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer all of your questions.
Natalie, many thanks for really an insight on the process of EPBD4 implementation, or not implementation, adoption to the Czech legislation. We have one question here in the chat. I will read it probably in Czech and then translate it to English, whether there are. Veřejně dostupný materiál srovnávající jednotlivé přístupy k PEMBu v rámci zemí EU. I will make a quick English. Does it any publicly accessible material that is comparing the that is comparing the approach to the energy certificates within the EU countries?
Thank you for the question. I'm not aware of any which would do that. Of course, you can find it in different laws, but I think after the implementation of the zero emission building standard, at least the comparison for the zero emission building standard is going to be done, but I'm not entirely sure that it is going to really get into the methodology of each and every EPC framework of each and every country.
Okay, here are some more technical questions. Can you see them, Natalie, please, in the chat? If you open the chat.
Indeed. Yes, indeed,
probably.
I can.
It'll be easier, then I will read them.
Yes. Should I read them?
Well, what will be the functional unit of the kilogram per CO2 equivalent in the EPC? Square meter or floor area? Area in square meters.
Yes, I will. I have always my EPBD at disposal. It is going to be useful floor area.
Yeah. So it's square meters, yeah.
Yes, square meters, of course.
Is the CO2 equivalent going to include also operational energy emissions of the house, or only embodied emissions?
It should include both. We are currently working on how exactly the methodology is going to work, because unfortunately or rather how the EPBD is implemented. We get the directive, which is not very well, it does not go into depth of certain aspects. And concretely about global warming potential, we are going to have a delegated act, which is going to be published later on by the Commission, which is of course unfortunate because it's cutting our time to implement it. But we have a certain way of how we think the European Commission is going to approach things. But right now we are talking about how it is going to get set up in the Czech Republic. So it is going to be both, most likely, but the final results, you'll have to wait a bit for that.
And the last question, what about EPBDs? Is Czech Republic going to have our own database of EPBDs, and is it going to be freely accessible?
Yes, we will have our own database. We are currently working on it. It is quite a bit difficult because we are on a strict deadline, and that's the half of 2026. and setting up database is not easy, as I have found out by myself. By being freely accessible, it is going to be accessible to a certain point, because there are going to be different levels of accessible. We are trying to think about the different levels of accessibility. So if you are owner of the house, you will have access to the full energy performance certificate. However, if you are just interested on the energy performance class of your neighbor, you will, in Kataster, you will see the A, B, C, D, E, F. And that's basically how freely the access is going to be. But as I have mentioned, there's going to be several levels. But it's not going to be as if you can see all of the energy performance certificates. If that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. So lots of about EPBDs, and there's another one about the PEMP. If part of the PEMP is the plug energy consumption, I'm not sure if this is going to be answered by Jirka in his later presentation. Is that right, Jiří?
I don't have this topic in my presentation, but I can answer it if you want. So we are talking about appliances or industrial processes. Let's say it's the second answer. And we are not planning to include this energy consumption into the EPC because it's a little bit tricky to count with it. But I think that EPBD you can do it, but we don't plan it. And also the next answer is regarding industrial buildings. I think it's the same answer. Industrial buildings are a little bit tricky because of the internal gains and the energy consumption of the industrial processes. So now in our decree is including, as far as I know, how to work with the internal heat gains. So you have to count with the internal heat gains from these processes, but without these processes, it's the building as the similar building as other buildings. So it's not different in energy modeling.
Okay, thank you very much. If there are no further questions for Natalie, I would like to thank you very much for your participation and for preparing for this meeting. And I smoothly can hand over to Jirka, who will have some practical implications on the existing and future or new buildings. Natalie, thank you very much and wishing you a lovely day.
Thank you as well. Have a good day.
So can you see my presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, great. Thank you. So thank you for the place here. I would like to share my point of view of this issue. I would like to represent our task group or working group. We are working under the Ministry of Trade under Natalie's department. And the task group consists of software developers, university members, consultancy companies, and so on. So as you will see, many things are not at the end of discussions because EPBD is very complex. So I would try to be as more specific as I can, but something is in discussions. Let's talk about Carbon's zero strategy. Of course, you know that there is a principle energy efficiency first in all EU documents. First of all, you should reduce the energy consumption, and then afterwards you have to clean the energy sources. After lowering the consumption, you can focus on clean energy sources. Of course, you can do it in the opposite way, but it's more efficient to reduce the energy consumption. And at the end of the day, our aim is to reach in 2050 to reach new carbon or emission zero, let's say neutrality. And we can bind all these ways together. We have to reduce the energy consumption and clean the energy sources. Of course, you know this. I would like to mention it and underline it because it's connected with the philosophy of energy modeling of the buildings, and also on setting the requirements that I will be speaking further. So the current state in Czech Republic, as well as in the whole European Union and member states, is that we have EPBD 3 in force, and when we split, let's say, the market or the construction sector or the building sector into 3 pieces, we can talk about new construction, about renovation, and about the building stock as a whole. In the new construction sector, you know that we have nearly zero energy building standard already. And what is nearly zero energy building? It has good envelope and low share of renewables. The share of renewables is not obligatory, but the thresholds are set so that usually you have to use low share of renewables. We have very moderate requirements for renovation. Only if you want to change some building parts, you have to do it in a good way to use good parts. And we have no restrictions or no requirements for the whole building stock. As I mentioned on other slide, the EPBD 4 is aiming to reach neutrality in 2050. So in 2030 or 2028, we will start with the new construction, with the new buildings that should be zero emission buildings. And but it's very small proportion of the building sector. The new construction is adding every year very small portion of the building stock. So the crucial thing is how to deal with the building stock that is already standing. Here the EPBD presents the idea of national building renovation plans. Every member state should issue own national building plan that that will set the milestones on the way to the carbon neutrality. There is a principle, worst performing building first, that is connected with the minimum energy performance standard, and I will talk about it later. So this is the main philosophy. So what is zero emission building? As I mentioned, we have ZEP and ZEBRA. ZEBRA means zero energy building standard after renovation, that probably will be less strict than ZEP in new construction, but the philosophy is the same. So what is zero emission building? We have three mandatory main features regarding zero emission building. It should have low energy consumption, good envelope, heat recovery, and of course good passive design. What was already mentioned by Natalie, the crucial thing now is that is a ban of fossil fuels on site. So no natural gas on site. But the thing is, where is the border between on-site and nearby and distant perimeter is not set exactly. So we are discussing about it, and definitely natural gas will be possible in nearby or distant perimeter, and the residual energy consumption of the building must be covered on annual basis by zero energy building compliant sources. The non-compliance can be compensated by export of renewable electricity, for example, from photovoltaics. And the crucial thing is, what are zero emission building compliance sources? We can split it into three types of compliance sources. Of course, you can count with the renewable sources on site, or you can say location based. These are highly preferred in EPBD, and we count with the ambient, geothermal, and solar renewable sources, and also biomass is counted into renewable sources. The really different thing from current state of EPC is that we have to count with market-based carbon-free sources, because we cannot do zero on site. So there will be completely new philosophy of these types of market-based sources. We are talking about PPA agreements, contracts, energy communities, and I think the biggest portion of the electricity mainly will be guaranteed with origins from renewable sources. There is also a category that can include the nuclear share of electricity. That is also, let's say, fossil fuel or carbon emission free. So this will be also very important, how at the end of the day it will be set in the decree. And the third category is efficient district heating. The definition of this efficient district heating is in EED, Energy Efficiency Directives, and there is a mistake. It should be 2050 because the district heating sector has its own milestones towards 2050. And we have to say that efficient district heating is zero emission building compliant, but instead of these two is not carbon free or zero emissions. Usually or typically nowadays it's coal or natural gas boilers with steam turbine that are combined heat and electricity producers. So this is the principle of efficient district heating. Now we are on the way to change coal to natural gas, but it's not fully carbon free or zero emissions. But it's zero emission building compliant source. The main indicator in EPBD that should be set as a benchmark is total primary energy. You can see in this picture that there is a primary energy on the left, and on our building is delivered or a delivered energy or energy consumption. Total primary energy consists of non-renewable primary energy and renewable primary energy, and the efficiency between these sides is a conversion process. And then you see that when you sum these two, you will get total primary energy. This principle is based on technical standard which is mentioned in EPBD. So I prepared very simple case study for a typical new office building that has common design main features: district heating, gas boilers, hot water, electricity heaters, envelope is in good shape, mechanical ventilation, lighting efficiency like this, and with no renewables because we don't have sufficient roof space. When we assess this kind of building, we can see that in comparison with the reference building, what is the principle in Czech Republic, to compare our building with the benchmark, we can see that the red space is not fulfilling the criteria, because from 2022 we have quite strict threshold to the new building, nearly zero emission energy building. So this is the state before optimizing in a valid decree now. So first of all, you have to set your target. What is the target value or the target threshold? Usually the threshold is set like building permit, but many projects are setting the target as EU taxonomy compliance. That is 10% lower than the threshold set for nearly zero energy buildings. So when we want to optimize this type of building, for example, we have to improve the curtain walls, the whole envelope. That is, of course, the most expensive part of the building. Improve heat recovery rate, lighting, and find some space on the roof for the photovoltaics. Then you can see that after optimization, we are on the very edge of building permit. You can see three binding indicators: building envelope, delivered energy, and non-renewable primary energy. And you can see that we are on the edge of the values. And as you can see, the building is quite good, and I don't know what we could do better. This is the state in the EPC. So the building is in category in the class B. And what about the zero emission building standard? What we could do better on this building? I think that's nearly nothing, because this building is, let's say, the best practice. We cannot construct it completely different. So we are facing definitely the on-site limits and the feasibility of doing something better. So probably we could find some solutions to improve the buildings, but we are definitely limited. So these solutions can be called location-based solutions. But the zero emission building standard wants to be zero, but not fully zero, but only covered by zero emission building compliant sources. So, for example, if we would choose heat pump, the building will be completely on electricity, and the rest of the electricity from the grid must be from the renewables or nuclear share of electricity guaranteed by some contracts or guarantees of origin. And in our task group, definitely we are talking about setting the requirements for the building itself. And on the other hand, we have to split the requirements on that are connected with the market, that are market based, because that can be easily changed in time. So, for example, this is the principle. This is the example of the principle that can be the result of the task group. We are talking about the limits on the location, on site, on the building itself, and the rest will be covered by market-based or other sources that will be zero emission building compliant. Now, just two timelines that were already mentioned. So regarding new construction, we have 2 dates, 2028 for public buildings and 2030 for other buildings. Crucial is that the binding date is building permit. So it's not so strict as it seems. And for new construction, there is also new principle of global warming potential evaluation, and the binding threshold should be set from 2030. I think that the most controversial issue in EPBD is minimum energy performance standards for standing buildings. When we are talking about the building stock, what it is, we can use our analysis of building stock that was used for setting top 15% for EU taxonomy, and here we can see the proportion of energy performance in each category of buildings, and we can easily set the thresholds for EPBD purposes. There are two requirements. As I said at the beginning of these slides, there is a principle worst performing first. Until 2030, we should improve 16% of buildings that are the worst, and until 2033, we should improve 26%. This is the worst performing principle at the very beginning, and then we don't know exactly what will be the milestones. We have only the target, and this question mark should be filled by national plans. And as far as I know, we did not start it yet. We don't start it yet with these national plans for renovation. These categories are used for non-residential buildings. For residential buildings is different approach. All will be written in the national plans for renovations. And what is also important that for the building stock, that there are trigger points. Minimum energy performance standards means rules that require existing buildings to meet an energy performance requirement as part of a wide renovation plan for building stock, but only at a trigger point on the market, such as sale, rent, donation, or change of purpose. So these are the situations or trigger points where you will need valid EPC in the future. And that's the whole lecture from my side. So if there are any questions, please.
Jirka, thank you very much. There are quite a few questions in the chat. If you can have a look, I will try and translate it quickly. If you design the house with a connection to DZT, sorry, not the technical person, is it guaranteed that in 2050 it will be neutral? If it is only powered by electricity, will it be also neutral?
No, of course we have to build buildings in this year, but we don't want to destroy the whole district heating sector. So the principle is that we use, let's say, forward-looking approach, because now the district heating sector is not in a good shape, let's say, regarding fossils, but we expect that it will improve in the future. So there is no guarantee that your specific heat plant will be improved, but we hope so. It's the only way we are thinking about it.
I hope it does answer the question. There's another one. If we switch to zero emission scheme, what criteria is the EU taxonomy 10% improvement against nearly zero going to be based on? From which number can we calculate this comparison?
We don't know it yet, but the nearly zero energy building standard will be in the decree, as well as zero emission building standard, and I think that all gonna be changed in terms of the new scale of EPC's certification and classes, and I think that also EU taxonomy will be changed regarding this after implementation of EPBD. So it's only for now this 10% improvement, I think.
Okay. Could you explain the trigger point in more detail? Does it mean that we can't sell the building that is in G class?
Yes, I think that Natalie mentioned the new database, and this database should be connected with the katastr nemovitostí, the land katastr, and I hope that the principle will be that you have to add the valid EPC to the application for this katastr nemovitostí.
Okay, land registry. Oh, will I have to prove that the guarantee of origin is going to be purchased throughout the validity of the EPC, or I have to prove it just when certified?
I think that there will be two scales. One scale will be based on the location, on the building itself, and the EPC can have validity, let's say 10 years, based on the hardware of the building, and then you will have the rest, the second scale, that will be based on market-based renewables. And this scale will be valid, let's say, only 3 months. When you will sell your house, you have to issue valid EPC, and to prove that you have in this trigger point, you have all the papers, like guarantees of origin and so on. Yeah, but in time you can change these papers, but the hardware will be the same. And this second scale will have validity, on very limited validity of this scale. Yeah.
Right. Any further questions at this moment on for Jiří, Natalie, or Marta? Doesn't seem not. On the taxonomy, I would like to mention that the Czech Green Building Council has prepared a taxonomy interpretation for the building chapter and is currently working on its updating. The original document is on the website of the Czech Green Building Council, or if you want to have it, just drop me a note and I will send you the link. And we hope that it will help the sustainable building market to accelerate the decarbonization in the most effective way. Sorry, there is one more question. Is public buildings are commercial, residential, or what? Thanks. Public buildings.
Yes, I think that public buildings means buildings that are developed or that are developed and constructed by public sector. It could be school or museum, as well as a residential house, I think.
It could be hospital, prison, whatever, anything that belongs to the public sector.
Yeah.
Does it answer the question? Probably. Yes. Well, if there is no resi built by the public
residential
sector, yeah.
Yes. Yes, if public sector is developing a residential building, I'm not sure if it fulfill the public category. I'm not sure.
We can find out subsequently from Natalie.
Yeah, that's the right person.
Yeah. Okay. If there are no further questions, I would like to thank all our speakers, Natalie, Marta, and Jiří, and to our audience. As I said before, the whole session is being recorded. We will place it on the Czech Green Building Council YouTube channel. You will all receive the link to the video, and you will receive the presentations from all the three speakers. So if there are no more comments or questions, thank you very much, and I'm wishing you a very nice day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you. Bye.